and recording.
All right, it looks like it's 6 o'clock. Time to start the meeting. I'd like to welcome you here, a big crowd tonight. This is the Cache County Board of Adjustments meeting on August 18th, 2022. And are there any initial comments? We've got opening comments. I'm actually clicked into go back to our agenda.
My only comment might be that
The minutes.
I hope you've received, well, the minutes definitely, and that hopefully I'll receive the email regarding the item, private airport for next
Single
month.
item, variance request, the Cornish lot split / natural barrier subdivision. Did I say Cornish? The font.
I know, I agree. I had to double check.
Not a problem, we've been told one thing.
Used to the Cornish up here. I actually, yeah, anyway.
I've got a lot of relatives who think that Cornishes, or Cornishes, but they're really Cornishes.
Got it. Sorry. Cornish. Should have clicked into the other one because my font's about 0.5. Okay, any other opening remarks? Anything? Okay. So has everybody had a chance to review the previous board meeting minutes?
Yes.
Any comments, revisions, anything on those?
I will just mention that we had some struggles recording that meeting, and there were some questions as to whether the vote was captured correctly. So if you could if you feel comfortable with the way you were voted, or whether it be for the nomination of chair, vice chair, and then the vote for and against.
Yeah,
I think they look correct to me.
Okay. Thank you.
I didn't even look at the vote part of it. Right. Yeah,
Okay.
that looks good. Okay, with no objection to any part of the minutes, we'll adopt those as drafted.
We need to make a motion.
I don't think so. Other boards I'm on, we don't. Okay. If it's procedure in this meeting to do it, we can go ahead and do it.
Taylor, would you recommend they vote on approving the minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Okay,
I second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are adopted. Okay. So we will move on to the variance request that's before us. And Tim, our staff?
Yes,
would like to, give us an overview?
I will, and I'll kind of couch down here behind the monitor and switch to the presentation. And let's just begin by taking a look at the vicinity of and the context of the area. So we're in an unincorporated county area north of Richmond, east of Lewiston, in this cove area. And Mountain Home Road, or 13300 north, extends up to the Idaho border, which is here. So I wouldn't say a stone's throw away from Idaho, but a short drive and a nice walk from Idaho, perhaps. And what you see here is the subject property, the parcel. And note when I select it that it selects both sides of the road. And then in the staff report is a further description showing that it's one parcel number as reflected here, and then some uncertainty as to whether the road that the staff report lists as a road by use. What we found since the staff report was written, that some of these lots describe, provide a legal description less the road area. Other parcels do not say less the road area. And it turns out that establishing whether a road dedicated road to the county, or whether it's a road by use or prescriptive, can require a fair amount of research and time and cost. However, in going to the staff report and looking at the direct citation of County Code Section 160220, which is the natural barrier subdivision, I think it's clear that it's not just natural, but it's natural or man-made obstructions that may be utilized for boundary lines for subdivisions. And then B is very key in that it says an application may be made for any lot that is clearly separated by a natural or man-made barrier within the agricultural zone. So it doesn't say divided, but it says separated. So whether it's a road by use or dedicated is really secondary to the consideration that this provision of code allows us to consider. And then given that this entire property's acreage is less than 20 net acres, we're net approximate 12 acres. If they did pursue a subdivision, then they would be less than the minimum density of 1 unit per acre, or maximum density, I apologize, of 1 unit per 10 net acres. And so what we found in exploring this with the applicant, and let me just introduce the applicant. So we have Arnold Copley representing B. Comish Farm LLC, and I suppose there's a name behind the entity LLC, but if invited for comments, we'll let you introduce yourself. But so the applicant submitted for the variance request as allowed for in this provision of the code, which is that if a natural barrier determination does not meet the minimum density requirement, which this does not for the zone, then they may apply to the Board of Adjustments for a variance to the density requirement. And then we look at the criteria for which a variance needs to meet, which have been spelled out here in the staff report. So just a quick summary of the I would call them layered development requirements, as well as county recorder recording process, that really, when applied together, they create a non-developable parcel for residential development. And that is first that when the recorders, when it's time to apply for a zoning clearance and apply for a building permit, the engineering public works standards require dedication of right-of-way. And so that then, if it is a road by use, clearly separates into 2 lots, which then become restricted or non-conforming with the density. And so that's, it cannot remain as one parcel, and then the recorder's office assigns a new number when it's clearly divided by right-of-way. So those all add up to rendering the property losing the property right for residential development and is only useful for agricultural uses. And so the applicant would like to apply their residential development right. And so the criteria that our code refers to when requesting a variance is echoes the state criteria. And so the first question is, why would literal enforcement of the ordinance cause an unreasonable hardship for the applicant? And I think that's just been addressed, that these layered requirements cause them to lose that residential development right. And what special circumstances exist in that there are multiple occurrences of lots throughout the county that are divided or separated by a road by use, but it's not the predominant condition. It's more of an exception than the norm. I don't have a figure on how many lots in the county fall under that category, and in particular, the number that are less than 20 acres or about 20 acres that may not meet the density requirement. But it is a unique circumstance, and parcel that is divided without going through required subdivision process becomes non-compliant and restricted. The third criteria of why granting the variance is essential to the enjoyment of a substantial property right is that I should say, possessed by other properties in the same zone. And we've suggested to you through the staff report that it's the density requirement that is needful of that variance. Also, we've indicated that in 2006, let's see here.
On page 6.
Oh, thank you. I got it slightly ahead of myself there, but
Up the middle of page 6.
yeah, I think I've covered this based on my general description, but I'll just go to item 4, is why the variance will not substantially affect the general plan, will not be contrary to the public interest. And so this is where, in looking at the general plan, it does suggest that there should be a balance between residential development and continued agriculture, and that a range of densities are suggested in the current general plan. There is a general plan pending to be adopted and update, but that also continues to explore options of how to balance residential development rights with the right to continue farming and have some compatibility there. And so the general plan suggests a range. The 1 unit per 10 acre is suggested as a medium density, but it also acknowledges the potential for a higher, or 1 to 5, and suggests potential for even lower. And then furthermore, in 2006, for ease of analysis and establishing what a legal parcel is that may or may not be further subdivided, in 2006, the A10 zone, or whatever parcel existed in 2006, was established by ordinance to exist as a legal lot. And so some of those are around 10 acres, some are greater than 10 acres, and some are less than 10 acres. But that does seem consistent with the range that's suggested in the general plan that still allows for that balance of residential development and agricultural use.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
And this may be a distinction without a difference, but has a difference in my mind. Are those legal or legal non-conforming?
Legal, it's just that they may not qualify to be further subdivided.
Okay, do you understand the distinction I'm making?
So is your question of,
So, for example, somebody has a commercial use in an area that gets rezoned residential. So that commercial use is legal, but non-conforming because of the rezone.
so that's a slightly different question, talking about use versus parcel size and.
Yeah, I'm making an analogous
Right.
comparison.
And
So if it's A10 zone and you have a 7-acre lot, that's been declared legal because of when it was created or because of a variance. That's legal non-conforming, right?
This might assist up here on the screen.
Legal non-conforming means that the parcel size requirements remain intact for the rest of that zone, as opposed to if it's just legal, it could potentially open a door. That's the distinction.
Right, so I think I understand. So, so in the code, as you see right up here, it's just stated as legal. There's not a distinction between legal, non-conforming, and
Okay.
legal. And so I think that, so maybe, to build on your analogous, example, if someone has a legal non-conforming use in a commercial venture in a residential area, they attempt to change that,
Yeah.
at that point, they would not be able to
Yeah.
change. They would
Or if they abandon it for a year.
Correct. In this case, if you have a 7-acre parcel in this A10 zone that should be 10 acres per one house, you can maintain that use, but if you wanted to subdivide it, you'd be prevented from doing
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that.
it. So similar concept, but in the code, it doesn't make a distinction for
Yeah.
the size. So
Yeah, you're not gonna abandon there's no abandonment or loss of the legality at the point at which it's established as legal.
Correct.
The only way you could you would just be prevented from making the change. Any subdivision would be
Yeah.
becoming a legal
Yeah.
subdivision. But you couldn't
The-
lose.
The reason the nonconformity may be an important distinction is so that the neighbors who don't have the same springboard into a variance decide they want to have the same. They want to split, because this is pretty close to 10 acres. It's just a little bit over 10 acres. So the neighbor says, well, hey, wait a minute. I want to split mine into, 5 and 6 acre lots. But they don't have the road issue.
Correct.
So that's why the legal non-conforming might be an important distinction in order to just kind of close the door on other requests. And maybe just simply that it was achieved through a variance is sufficient. I may be taking this way too far. I just thought I'd throw it out there
And
to
I
see
think
what you thought.
something else that, would prevent a flood of, variance requests is that in this case, most parcels, they have their frontage on a road at the edge of a property, not
Right.
bisecting the property.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a rarer case,
Mhm.
and that's kind of the basis of their variance
Yeah.
request.
You do have it with the canal as well, because the canal goes around and splits parcels too.
Yep. One thing that's not described in the staff report, and thanks for these good questions, and we'll get to your question in just a moment. I think you had another, but what's not mentioned in the staff report is why lots straddle roads. Or sometimes, this lot, in fact, used to be combined with a non-contiguous parcel that was further north.
I saw that on the map.
Okay, and that ended up being understood as already divided and therefore not restricted when a new parcel number was assigned. But with the road and this natural barrier text provision in the code, felt that this should pursue the course of the text. But the why behind these lots that were combined was for ease of tax assessment administration and sending snail mail out to fewer numbers and less postage costs. And now, later, then we go more electronically. It's hard to reconcile that with the assessment number or purpose along with the property.
So I just want to be clear, you want to build on this, on the acreage?
All we want to do is take the road out of the equation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but have the possibility of building on it.
exactly.
So it'd be in an A10 zone.
Yes.
Part of that.
So it'd be in an A10 zone, because you got 12 acres. I mean, it would have to be,
Yeah.
it'd have to be, if you take the road out, it's gonna be in an A10 zone.
Correct.
How this came about was, and I'm also the realtor
Yeah.
representing Jerry in selling the lot, is we had the lot under contract. The buyers were doing their due diligence, working with the community development and with the county. And
I'm sorry, we should probably have you speak in the microphone if it's time for them, or maybe you'd like to
Sure,
wait.
well,
I'm almost
Let's
done.
do this in the right sequence.
Okay.
I kind of sidetracked you there.
Oh, there's just one more.
Were you done? Or you want to say whatever else you were going to say?
Oh, thank you. I might just conclude with the final state requirement, which is this fifth requirement, how the spirit of the land use ordinance is observed and substantial justice is done. And these really do kind of overlap each other, these criteria. And so this generally states that it's consistent with the general plan, that the legality of parcels established in 2006 recognizes that not all parcels must be a minimum of 10 acres or larger to fit in the character and meet the purpose and intent of the A10 zone district. And that the variance request asks for the county land use authority, or you, to uphold the property owner's right to apply residential development on one or, in this case, it would end up with 2 buildable lots. And that's not what they're necessarily seeking to begin with, but that would be a result of this approval. And so staff's recommendation and conclusion is that it is consistent with the state variance criteria and the purposes and intent of the natural barrier subdivision. We recommend board approval of this request.
Okay, thank you. Right, come on up.
Where, up there?
Yeah, just so it gets recorded.
Okay, so with this, we discovered this as we were going through the process. As I said, the buyer was doing their due diligence, working with the community development to find out what would be needed to be able to build a single-family residence on this lot. And I went through, met with Tim, and also with the recorder's office to find, first off, how to legally separate the two parcels that were non-contiguous. And when it was separated, the recorder assigned a tax ID number for either parcel on either side of the, or either piece of land on either side of the road. So there was two, and then Tim brought it to my attention that this is potentially an illegal split and that there's an issue. And I brought it to the attention of the recorder's office and community development, and the attorney met together to see what the codes were and how to essentially preserve the right to be able to develop this property or put a single family home on this property. And it was concluded that this Mountain Home Road was most likely a road by use, and it divided this property, and there, I think, are 2 or 3 others up there that may be also affected by this.
According to the.
Yeah, including the parcel to the north, which is also for sale. And that the good news was that, yes, it is one parcel with that legal description, but to develop it, the state requirements are to dedicate, or the requirements are to dedicate the road, which then divides the parcel by natural barrier. And so the recommendation was to apply for a variance so that the property rights to be able to develop the.
Keep it in one piece.
Well,
Actually, to have it be two
be able to
pieces.
have it be 2 pieces, because.
Logistically, it is 2 pieces once the
Yeah.
road
Right,
bisects
right,
it.
it is.
And I've had numerous questions too, well, during the time that we've had this property on the market, where they ask, is that 2 parcels or 1? And because of the road, it appears to be 2, even though the legal description crosses the road.
So when they gave you 2 parcel numbers, did they not amend the legal description?
They amended it by stating that it does less the portion of the road and that it does not close.
If I can just clarify,
okay,
after
yes.
our clarification meeting with recorder and attorney and development services, the recorder agreed to recombine the parcel and make it back to 1 number so that it could go through this process.
Oh, okay.
So there's been a lot of
'Cause
communication.
it almost seems moot if they had already divided, okay. I
And
got
for the purposes of not having illegal restricted parcel.
Yeah, okay,
So,
all right.
so here we are.
So have you had any feedback? Is anybody in that area objecting to it, or?
As far as I know, no. I know the owner to the parcel to the north is looking to see what is decided here, because once again, their piece is 16 acres, about half on either side. And so the same issue will come up for them, and they, once again, they would like to sell their property too and have it be able to be a buildable lot.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
And I could just add something as well, so that, just maybe to ease your mind. So if, in granting a variance, the appeal authority can also impose additional requirements to mitigate any harmful effects of the variance. So if you have concerns, like maybe you have illustrated here that you don't want them to subdivide it too many times, or if you feel that there's some sort of negative outcome that could result from this, you have the ability to impose some of those additional requirements that you feel would address any of those negative consequences.
Do either of you see anything that
No,
raise some concern?
no,
I mean, I don't know if this land is being farmed. I know that the ag zone initially had,
Yeah.
well, initially had the objective of preserving ag lands, and there's a difference of opinion as to whether you actually preserve ag land by having bigger parcels, or if it would be better to have a strip of small parcels. And so, you know, that's,
it's another can of worms.
yeah, it is. So is that land being farmed, or?
About, on the west side, about 3 acres is being leased and farmed by one of the local residents in the area.
Actually, both pieces are farmed,
Okay,
not farmed, grazed, the upper
Yeah.
pasture,
Okay.
there's 2 portions of pasture there.
Yeah.
They are,
so it's an ag use
Yes.
still.
So, can I ask you, I mean, I'm very familiar with that area. So, Joe Comish,
cousin,
okay,
Okay, so
All right.
this part here is what's farmed.
Yeah, so I guess the only
Yeah, and the other
potential condition
has been pasture
that would
somewhere.
maybe make sense, and I'm not necessarily advocating this, I'm just throwing it out as,
Oh, yeah.
if the general plan, the objective of the general plan is to help preserve ag land and not put a home right smack in the middle of it that makes it really difficult to farm. Maybe having building envelopes that are close to the road. I don't know if somebody's gonna have a long drive all the way to the back of the lot, or, I mean, that might be an issue that got raised. but-
We also have looked at, or I've also looked at the parcel review, and there are some parts of the property that are steeper slope to the east.
Okay,
And it might require a geotechnical survey before building can take place there. And obviously, as well, the requirements from the health department for septic.
but they're building, at the end of the day, they're building on those hills right now. I mean, this isn't,
Yeah. that's
yeah,
the-
so farming is sort of
yeah,
a foregone conclusion. It's, and in reality, it seems that the movement is farming is consolidating
like,
and becoming more
yeah.
corporate. and-
like you're running probably a few beef cattle or something on that ground and stuff like that, but to say that they're really, probably not a lot of irrigation possibilities at all that I know of up there. You got the High Creek, but I'm not sure that comes and goes.
The bottom portion, the farm ground is irrigated.
Okay,
yeah,
And there's a view of the bottom ground.
yeah,
Right below that
so the,
big tree
yeah,
is irrigated from High Creek water.
okay, that was the question I had, okay.
Is this the canal right in the foreground? Or-
That's the road, isn't it?
Well, we're
Yeah,
at the green
that's-
strip between the road
Oh.
and the fence. Or is that just a borrow pit?
That's just a borrow pit,
Okay.
that's not, your
Okay.
canal will be a little bit further down,
All right.
but yeah.
I think what's intriguing about the shape of these lots, that they're very narrow and deep. And so situated such that if a home is closer to the road, then farming as it has taken place is unimpeded and could continue that way.
Exactly.
Right,
That's
right.
the point I was making. But,
Unfortunately, when Grandpa or Great-Grandpa Comish divided the lots up,
coming up, if that's okay,
tried to divide them evenly.
here, come on up. This is an interesting history. Will you speak to our, in the microphone?
You take that.
We want to hear this interesting.
No, it's
history.
good, it's
There
good.
you go.
Okay. Unfortunately, when Grandpa or Great-Grandpa Comish divided the lots up, he tried to divide them evenly. And unfortunately, evenly doesn't mean a big lot here and a narrow one there. He did the best he could with what he had to work with.
The way the lines go,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
We didn't mean to put you on the spot, but it's an interesting history. I'd like to get a little history lesson. Well, are there any other comments about this, or inclinations to go one way or another?
No, Madam Chair, I think we got a rule on it, I guess.
I second that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion about that? I mean, I guess I'd just weigh in and say, I think the criteria is well laid out. The state statute and the local ordinances are pretty clear. It appears that we, have the authority, we've gone through the issues and variables. This seems to fit perfectly into a natural barrier.
Man-made barrier, man-made, yeah.
Oh, don't you hate that?
There we go.
Sorry, I planted mine down before, in enough meetings.
That's all right. Anyway, so I'm inclined to agree with that too. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you. And that was a motion to approve the variance request.
Motion to approve the variance with the analysis that staff has laid out.
Okay.
I think that's helpful.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Encourage you to make a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a wrap.
All right. Thank you. Good luck.
Okay, Mr. Talbot, why do I know you, or why should I know you?
I live in Lewiston.
Where at?
So Hall Store, you know where Hall Store is?
Yeah,
Okay, so the Hall Store, you go a mile north